citizen journalism suppose like when journalism شهروندی حمایت میکنه و حتما در کشور البته من مثل خاطر کاهش
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me here. My name is Eileen. I'm the co-founder of Impassioned Afghanistan and also the co-founder of Pilot, this program that we'll be talking to you about today. I'm going to be speaking about simultaneous translation systems. I'll give you a minute to get that set up. So, the first question that I want to start with is, what is social media? Obviously, it's all about, but my question, and the reason that I bring it up, is why are we talking about mobile phones and mobile technology at a conference on social media? And so I want to go back to the basic definitions to start. When we're talking about social media, what we're talking about is a social network, a platform that allows interactivity between different groups, different people, and organizations. The communication in social media is meant to be multi-way, so it's not just like traditional media where you have Tolo or Shamshad or YTV or otherwise, giving out a message in one direction. That's traditional media. So again, what is social media and how is mobile technology relevant to that? That's what I'll be discussing today in my talk. The second question is, what is Afghan social media? I am an American that has been living and working in Afghanistan for 2 years. I first came in 2009. And I did social media in Mongolia, and what I found was that we actually rethink ways in the Afghan context. There's a lot of innovation in technology, and we should be celebrated, and we should be talking about social media in the way that it's being, not just in terms of the Facebook and the LinkedIn and all of these great online social platforms. So I want to start out and look at this. It's a little bit small right now, but this is a visualization of a Twitter network that was talking on Afghan elections. So at the center of this network is hashtag. You guys have learned a lot about hashtags these past couple of days. Hashtag Afghan elections. And all around it, you see the conversation that people are having. You see to the right down here, the people that are talking about the hashtag, you see related. There's a couple of really interesting things about this right here. And one of them is that it's all in English. Where is the conversation that's happening on Afghan social media? Why isn't it being captured? The other thing that's interesting is that you'll see the biggest hashtag is Afghan elections. The second biggest, right to the left of it, is hashtag Afghanistan. So clearly, this is a conversation that's just happening among Afghans in Afghanistan. It's a conversation that's happening around the world about Afghanistan. And that's good, that's important, that's a very vital way of using social media, is to represent Afghanistan from your voices, so that people start hearing about Afghanistan. But again, there are vital voices that are being missed in this conversation if you just look at social media as an online medium. So this is it's a very rough version of what I created, of what I think another version of the Afghan social media sphere looks like. And it's, as you can see, it's a mobile-based network. It's a mobile-based network where maybe someone goes online and they find a video and they download it to their computer and they download it onto their mobile phone, and by their mobile phone, they can then share that with many more people. I know that this is something you're all very familiar with, Bluetooth videos, for example, bulk SMS messaging, the ringtones that are created that you can buy on the sides of streets. These are also just as legitimate as a form of social media as the ones that we typically talk about. And so today I want to talk to you guys about a social media platform that, a citizen journalism platform that Impassion Afghanistan created called Paiwanja, which, as you guys all know, Dari for a place of connection. Its slogan is Jamia Shuma, Gazarash Shuma, Sadai Shuma, Intikhabat Shuma, or in English, your community, your voice, your story, and your elections. The idea of Paiwanga is to give the students and to have it so that this conversation about Afghanistan and about Afghan elections, which has been a focus for the past several months, is not just a story and a narrative that in the West, it's politicians that are talking about, that are shaping the story of Afghans. And in Afghanistan, it's not even a story that's just shaped by all the politicians or by all of the media. The idea of Paiwanja is that this is your story, as it says, this is your community that we're talking about, these are your reports, this is your voice, this is your election. For us, mobile was a really important part of this because, as we mentioned earlier, if we had just kept it to an online social network, that would have meant many, many Afghans wouldn't have had their voices heard. The most up-to-date statistics say that 2.4 million Afghans are on the internet, out of a total population of 30 million. What we wanted to do with this platform was allow anyone, of those, especially those 28 million other Afghans that don't have internet, to also contribute and to tell their story. So Paiwanja, how it worked. This is a screenshot of our website, and people would be able to send in stories and reports just by their mobile phone. They could do it by SMS, by calling into a phone number that we gave out, as well as by email, by Facebook, by Twitter, and all of these online methods. What we wanted to do was make it so that there was no difference between whether or not you were online, whether you were offline, whether you have 3G access or not, whether you're even literate. We wanted everyone's voices to be heard and to participate and shape this really important national and international conversation that's going on. So the other thing that was really interesting about Paiwanja is that we did something that in English is called data visualization. So it's about when you get information that's coming in, we could, as we did to the right, we could just have all the reports. But that can be hard to find the information that's available. So what we also did was we mapped all of the reports out. So unfortunately, internet's not working, so I can't show you, but to the left, on this map, you can actually zoom out and you can look at the reports that are coming in by province, by district, and by polling center. And so what that happens is, what happens when you can do that, is you can start seeing trends. What are people in Jalston saying? What are people in Kapisa saying? How is the security situation different in one polling center versus the other? That also helped us to verify the information if there were cases of fraud or security or other things that were being reported. So how it works. The first step is anyone can send in a report, and I'll talk about how you can do that later, just again using your mobile phone. Once that report comes in, we would edit it, we would verify it if verification was needed, we would translate it into all three languages that was simultaneously available in Dari, Pashto, and English, and then we would distribute it. Our main distribution channels were on social media, so that's another way that we connected the offline and the online. So it was very popular on Twitter, it was widely followed by all of the embassies in Afghanistan, many media organizations and analysts and all of that. But we also partnered with radio stations. So we ran our pilot program in 4 radio stations in remote parts of Afghanistan. So we worked in Kandahar and Jajjan, in Kapisa, I think, and in Daikundi. So that all of our reports were coming in, but also going out again to the citizen journalists that were reporting to us. And so some of the reports that we got on the first round were, it was really exciting. It showed that the concept worked. And so for us, it was a test because we weren't sure if people would be comfortable with the technology, if they would be comfortable sharing reports from some of the more dangerous parts of the country. And on day one on first round of elections on June 4th, we had 578 reports that came in from 27 provinces. And on the second round, we had 473 reports from 29 provinces. And the reports were everything from, we got so many reports from very happy voters that just said, I'm at this polling station in my village, everything's great. I don't have anything else to say. we had other reports of very serious fraud. And so one of the ones that's up here to the right, I'll read it for you because it's a little small, came from hospitals. It said local civil society activist reports that he's identified an individual with 2,000 voter cards, which he used to cast votes in favor of Zaldi Rasul and provincial council candidate Hanif Khalifi. The activist says the irregularities occurred at Masak Khan High School, Has district, during a firefight earlier in the day. The activists and other area individuals had confiscated the 2,000 voter cards. So as you can see, we got those reports of just people that were really excited to share that they were voting, as well as really serious reports of fraud that we then forwarded to the IEC, to the Electoral Complaints Commission. And the second round as well, we had reports from, for example, this one in Patia, where someone said that the Arbaki, the tribal security militias in Patia, are providing security and encouraging their women folk to vote. This is real change, hashtag Afghan elections. So again, we were getting a lot of different kinds of reports that were coming in via different methods. One of the things that became really interesting and important is, as I'm sure you all remember, the Ministry of Communications and IT surprised everyone by banning SMS on the first round of elections. And so there were actually several other citizen journalism programs that were being run that day, including one by Pajwak. And all of us were very affected by this ban, but it also showed to us the importance of mobile, but also of having a lot of different ways of reporting. There were a lot of discussions after elections during a lot of, when the politicians were saying scary things on Facebook and on media about the future of Afghanistan, about all of that, where there were thoughts that social media was going to be banned, and Parliament was debating whether or not this would happen. So this again shows the importance of depending on other, what I would call homegrown social networks in Afghanistan, to make sure that if censorship happens on one way of reporting, that there's always backups. So for us, the backup was that we had this system that people could call. We expected on election day that most of our reports would come in by SMS, because SMS is easy, it's quick, people can do it right there. But we found that because of the election day ban on SMS, most of the reports that we were getting were via calls. And people would make missed calls, and we would call them back and get the information back. But it wasn't all about, just the election days. There were other more general reports that were more about, less political, more about just the situation in the provinces. And these are really important as well, because in Kabul, especially for me as an expat and for the international organizations that are here and the entire world that's watching Afghanistan, much of the news that's coming out is all about Kabul. The opinions that people have about Afghanistan come from Kabul. So it's doubly important for people to start understanding and hearing the voices out in the provinces. So this report here is just a very basic opinion-based report. Where are you getting your information about from the elections? What radio stations, what TV stations? And this was important because there were, the UNDP and the IEC had an elections monitoring program where they were monitoring all of the media. So being able to understand what was affecting and influencing opinion was very important to all of the different parties involved. So contribute. So there are a lot of different ways to contribute to Taiwan.gov, and now that the elections are over, we're looking at different ways of incorporating citizen journalism into our news. And so I hope that all of you will become citizen journalists and become the reporter, the voice for your communities. But you can go directly to our website, taiwan.gov.af. You can go on Twitter and you can use hashtags. Go on facebook.com/taiwan.gov, or send us an email or call us, and get the reports out that way. So really, there's just a couple of things that I want to say to wrap up. One is really to talk about the impact. Why is Taiwan.gov important? Why is mobile technology and mobile reporting important? As I said earlier, Afghanistan is still a place that is getting reported on in the news around the world on a daily basis. People care about what's going on in Afghanistan. But all of you, especially as civil society activists, as leaders in your community, ability to out there. I've attended a lot of different meetings where embassies and all of that, they'll invite civil society activists to go out. And one of the things that civil society I've heard said a lot of times is we want to be more part of these processes. We want there to be more meetings. And we want the international community, we want everyone to come to our provinces. But because of security, because of a lot of in-person meetings aren't always possible. So we have to depend on social media, on ICT tools, on mobile technology to get the voices of the people out there. And there for questions and for Monica. Thank you. So next speaker will be Monica Ibrahim, who will be joining us from Skype from Egypt. She runs a very interesting program called Harassment, which maps sexual harassment of women. And then after that, we'll open it up to questions and answers.
Hello? We can hear you. Hi. Thanks, Eileen, for your speech. I'm Monica Ibrahim, Communications Manager at RAFMA. Yes. Okay, so I was saying Monica Ibrahim, Manager at RAFMA. I'm excited to talk to you guys today. So RAFMA is an Egyptian initiative. Hello, guys? Yes, we can hear you. Okay, so RAFMA is an Egyptian initiative that started in 2010. It's volunteer-based, and our goal is to end social acceptability of sexual harassment. And to do that, we're working on several levels. The first level is the reporting. So how does the reporting for harassment works? We see sex from all over the country through SMS work, through mobile phones, social media, Facebook and Twitter, or through a website. And these reports receive a response from harassment for tips on free legal aid or free psychological counseling or how to police work. We also use these reports to mark the map on a website that don't actually work when you click on it. These are also used to identify about sexual harassment that leads to the work of harassment in the second level. The second level is the volunteer. We actually have huge funds of volunteers in harassment that are working with us. We have 1,500 volunteers, more than that. And they're working in 18 different settlements in Egypt. Men and women from this background, they go on mobility in the neighborhood, talking to people, bystanders, talking to people like on the street, people have friends, they cafe owners, street vendors, men, trying to convince them not to be silent of sexual harassment and to actually take the positive steps to prevent it when they see it or when they're subject to it. And but it's not easy. Like, of course, it's not easy to talk to people that are people on the street talking about harassment. So what we do at harassment is we give the captains training that how to address sexual assault and harassment, and how to talk about this, how to address the excuses that people give to harassment, and how to act them. Thereafter, we have the research unit. Our research unit selects the reports we get on the left to see, and they try to conduct research and surveys. We had a research we published very recently in June about of crowdsourcing information, and it's made a big impact. And we have also the campaign. Through the information we get from the reports and the feedback we also get from the communication unit tries to create messages, strong messages, to communicate the messages we want, like through online and offline meetings, on addressing quickly, given to how to answer that, to debunk the common misses on sexual harassment. That's pretty much it for the work of RASMA. We also have the safe areas unit. It's a very interesting one. It's a very interesting work that we're working on. We are trying to re-establish the tradition and the norm we had in Egypt of having sexual harassment-free zone, sexual harassment-free places for everyone, to report that on our map as well. So I'd be very happy to take your questions.
Okay, so any questions for Tina, myself, or Monica? In the back? Can you bring the mic back there?